Good morning, everyone.
Morning.
Good morning.
Dalfin.
Beautiful opportunity to learn Torah together and to connect with Hashem on a higher level. Tanya raises us to a higher level. It's not elementary stuff. It's not for beginners. It's right away you're being elevated to a much higher level, especially when we learn Torah together. We're all giving each other strength. There's much more blessings and power from Hashem. The fact that we're learning together and not each one by himself individually, that brings a lot more energy and holy blessings from Hashem. When Hashem sees that his children are learning Torah together, it's a big, big plus for everyone who participates, and also for Am Yisrael. And today is also a very special day. Hey Teves, when the Rabbi in 1987 was given the good news that the books from the library from his father-in-law, the previous Rabbi, will be returned to the Hasidim. And the Rebbe said that he expects the Hasidim to learn more Torah. That's what the books are all about. Not just celebrate the victory that we won the rights to the books, but do something with it, learn it, teach, share the inspiration with the people. Take it to a whole different level. So we're going to go now to chapter 2, to Perek Beis of Tanya. And I'm going to try my best to share with you the lessons and the inspiration from this chapter. The Perek Beis, the second chapter of Tanya, begins with Nefesh Hashenis B'Yisrael Hichelek Elokam Imal Mamash. That we said before that every Jew possesses two souls, the godly soul and the animal soul. The animal soul, which means it gives you the power to function on an animalistic level, eating, sleeping, going to the bathroom, all the bodily functions. That soul is contained in the blood streams of a person. Like the Torah says, K'adam hu anafesh. The soul, it rests in the blood. That's why, God forbid, if a person loses blood, they become weak, because part of the blood is not, part of the soul that's in the blood is not fully operating. Or God forbid, someone has illness in their blood, it's also connected with the soul. And now is not the time to get into it. Maybe Rabbi Smith has more information on this. What happens when a person has a blood infusion? So does he pick up the soul also from another person where that blood is coming from? Or as soon as the blood comes into his body, that other soul, wherever the blood came from, disappears? And it's not so simple, because you do find that the Rechaim HaKadosh says that sometimes when a person, God forbid, eats a piece of meat that wasn't salted, wasn't prepared properly to extract the blood from it, and he eats from it, that blood that contains a soul in it, which wasn't prepared kosher, and according to the halacha, could cause that person, the person who's eating it, a lot of spiritual problems, because the blood contains a soul, and the soul of the animal can hurt a person spiritually if the person doesn't eat meat that the blood was extracted the kosher way. But that's not for now. That's parenthetic. It's going back to the Tanya. So there's another godly soul besides the animal soul that's in the blood. Where does the godly soul rest? Primarily in the brain, in the head of the person. And from the brain, it expands to all the organs of the body. But the godly soul primarily is as he says over here, it's the chelik elika mimal mamish. It's an actual part of godliness. Now, the word mamash, means actually, and this has a double meaning. One meaning is that the godly soul, the neshama, comes down to us in a way that we could actually feel it. It's in us. So the neshama is a part of Hashem, mamash, also. That's another interpretation. It's really a part of God. And it's also dressed and limited in our body. So it becomes mamoshish. You could actually feel it. It's tangible. And at the same time, it's mamash. It's actually a part of God. Now, this statement gives us a better understanding. We like to bring everything down into a practical level, practical lesson. The Torah says you should love another Jew. You should treat everyone like you want to be treated. Love another person like you love yourself. Now, that's a very difficult mitzvah. It's complicated. The Torah says, Hashem says we should do it. We have to try to do it. But everyone does it according to their ability. But how is it possible for Hashem to demand, to request us to do something that seems to be almost impossible? And the rabbis talk about it. One of the answers is that every Jew possesses the neshama, and the neshama is part of Hashem. So when I look at another person, I have to try to see their soul that's inside them. And my soul, my neshama, and their neshama are both part of Hashem. So when I respect someone and I acknowledge someone and I'm supposed to like them and love them, I'm actually reaching the soul, the neshama that's in that person's body. It's a soul relationship. It's a godly relationship. That makes it easier to feel the love to another person like I love myself. Why do I love myself? Because I want to feel good and I want to be happy. Well, Hashem created the other person just like he created me, and he put his neshama, his energy into the other person, and he expects me to recognize that, to acknowledge that. So who am I to say I don't want to recognize that? I'm not able to say that. That's the whole essence of the Torah. That's what Rabbi Akiva said. Zui klal gadol b'Torah. And Hillel, the great sage Hillel, told the person who wanted to become Jewish, standing on one foot, he said, give me the short version. He said, what you don't want people to do to you, what you hate, what you dislike people should do to you, don't do to your friend. Zui kol Torah. Zil Gemara. Now go and study the rest of it. So this is on a practical level. Another practical feeling and message that we have to take from this statement. If we know and we believe that the neshama in us, it comes from actual part of Hashem, then we'll be tremendously uplifted and we'll feel positive. Even when things go wrong, God forbid, we have challenges, we're upset, we have to stop, put it on pause and say, wait a minute. I'm not alone. My true energy in me is Hashem. And Hashem is giving me my life force. And Hashem is right now inside me, giving me my existence. So if I trust that Hashem is my true essence of my being, of my life force, of my existence, and Hashem knows what's good for me, and He knows what I'm going through, then what am I so upset? I have to trust His decision. I'll pray to Him. I'll ask Him to help me out, that I shouldn't have pain, that I should be happy, that I should feel positive. But I have Hashem with me all the time. So this is a tremendous inspiration for all of us. Of course, many people know this without the Tanya. But if you learn it and you study it and you meditate on it, you'll see that it's deeper than just regular belief and faith. Yeah, I know, I have faith that God is here and God is watching over me, and He's the CEO of the world and He's the creator, and fine. But that doesn't mean that you have a personal relationship with Hashem right now, unless you learn Tanya, unless you learn Musa, unless you learn Zohar, and you contemplate on it, and you ask Hashem in your prayer that you should feel it. You on a conscious level, not just subconsciously. This is something that we have to work on ourselves every day to strengthen the inspiration that we have in our subconscious level. We should bring it down to a conscious level. It should come down in thought, speech, and action. And now he goes further and he says, everything that says in the Tanya or in Hasidus in general has a source in the Torah. When the Torah talks about the creation of Adam Rishon, and Adam Rishon, his soul, his neshama, it says in Kabbalah, included all the neshamas that will be born until the end of days, until Mashiach comes. So when the Torah talks about the creation of Adam, and also the Goyim come from Adam, but it says in the Kisvei Arizal, there's two tracks, so to speak, like on a conveyor belt, like in a factory. There's two tracks. One part of Adam's neshama created Jewish souls, and one part of him created the non-Jewish souls, which are on a much lower level than the Jewish soul. So when the Torah talks about the creation of Adam, when Hashem created him, before he sinned with the Eitz Hadas, so the Torah says, "Vayipach ba'apov nishmas chayim." Hashem blew into his nostrils the soul of life. So the Alter Rebbe here, the Baal HaTanya, brings from the Zohar. Why does it say by Adam specifically he blew into his nose this breath of life? When Hashem created light, it says, "Vayayim Elokim yihi oir." Hashem said, "Let there be light." When Hashem created the stars and the sun and the moon, "Vayayim Elokim yihi moirish." Hashem said, "Let there be light, the luminaries," and He created them. When it comes to Adam, I said the language changes. Everything in the Torah has a much deeper level of interpretation and explanation than it's just God forbid. There are some people, they don't want to accept that the Torah is divine. So they say, the people wrote it and great scholars wrote it and all types of nonsense. But we know that's not true. That's why we follow the Torah so strictly. The Torah is divine. And therefore, every word, every nuance has its significance in the Torah. How it's written, why these words were written, picked, chosen, how sometimes the word has a vav or without a vav. There's so many secrets to the Torah. So why did it say that Hashem blew into his nostrils? So he says that blowing is different than speaking. When you speak, you can speak for a long time. You don't get tired. Like here by this class, Rabbi Smith put me to task. Rabbi Dalfin, you're a shliach, teach Tanya. And I got to go straight, of course, you're able to ask me questions, but I'm got to go without an interruption from 10 to 11. That's what he expects me to do. And I do it happily. Baruch Hashem, I have the koyach. I don't get tired because my neshama in me is talking. But how about if Rabbi Smith Menachem would tell me, Rabbi Dalfin, do me a favor. I want you to blow balloons now for a half hour straight. Well, could I blow balloons for a half hour straight? Get tired. Very tired, very quickly. Why? Because blowing is not like speaking. Blowing, you have to blow from your inside. And from your inside, you're exerting too much power, too much energy, and you don't have so much koyach. So you get tired, you need a break. But speaking, you're giving more of your external energy. It's not so deep. It's not so pnimius. It's not so essential. That's why it can go on for a long time. Just want to make a little joke. So we say some people, they blow hot air. They can blow hot air, bluff for days and months and years, and they're full of hot air. They don't get tired of that because it's all bluff. It's not giving anything from the internal. It's all external. But that's the way it is. This world is called Olam HaSheker. It's the world of lies, fake news, fake people, fake ideas. You don't know who's saying the truth anymore. Only Torah is the truth. Thank God that we have the Torah. So what's the idea that Adam was given the neshama that Hashem blew? He blew into his nose the soul. Vayipach ba'apav nishmas chayim. Hashem, this is the language of the Torah. Hashem blew into the soul, into the nose of Adam, the soul of life. So why did it say he blew it into him? Because the neshama comes from the internal, from the inside of Hashem, not like speaking, which comes from the external, the light and the luminaries, the moon and the sun and the stars and the animals. Over there it says, Hashem said, good, Hashem created. The Dvar Hashem, Shemayim Nasu. Uvruch Piv, called Tzvam. Hashem created the heaven with his words and with the Ruach Piv, the utterance of his mouth, called Tzvam, all the hosts, everything in the heavens and everything in the earth. But when it comes, when it happens when you get onto a Zoom, someone calls in the middle, interrupts. I'm sorry, excuse me. But when it comes to the soul, to the neshama, over there it says Vayipach, that Hashem blew into the nostrils of man, of Adam, his neshama, and therefore this is a chidush from the Zohar and from the Tanya explaining the Zohar, that every single Jew has the neshama that possesses our holy neshama that comes from the pnimius of Hashem. And this makes us happy. This gives us koyach. This gives us tremendous inspiration. Then he goes further. It says in the Torah, Hashem says we are his children. Again, if you don't learn the Tanya, okay, we're Hashem's children. Wow. It's wonderful. So beautiful. We have a relationship with Hashem like a child to a father and a father to a child. That's good. The Tanya goes much deeper into the details of it. What does it mean that we have a relationship with Hashem like a father to a son? How does a child come about? What is the development of a child? So he says that the child, where does the seed that comes to create the child with the mother, where does it originate from? From the brain of the father. That's where the seed comes from, physically, from the brain, from the head. In the head is the brain. So that seed has the potential for the development of a fetus, of a child. But you need to have the mother to host the baby for 9 months in the womb, so then the baby comes out. That's one of the great miracles that Hashem does every day. When people give birth, people are pregnant, women, it's unbelievable. It's Hashem's miracles. So it says in Chassidus, just parenthetically, it's just interesting to know this point. God forbid, sometimes a person who's blind or deaf, he could have a child who's not blind and deaf. How could that be? You would, if the child originates from the father and the father has a malfunction, has a deficiency, then the child should also be deficient. Let's explain to Chassidus that the seed that develops the child comes from a much deeper and higher level in the brain of the father, from the soul that's in the brain, not from the brain itself. On some level, there's a deficiency, correct? But the soul that's in the brain is not deficient. And therefore, he could create a child that's not deficient, that doesn't have a handicap. Sometimes it does come out, unfortunately, but also it happens that it works wonderful. So when we say we are Hashem's children, Hashem says, Bonim atem, LaHashem Elokechem, you are my children. What does it mean? Our relationship with Hashem is not just in general. We are Hashem's children. Well, good, beautiful. Sounds wonderful. No, we have to know the details of it. Just like a child comes from the seed, that comes from the brain, that comes from the soul that's in the brain of the father, the same thing, or on a higher level, much deeper, we, the Jewish people who are considered Hashem's children, we come from the essence of Hashem, much higher and much deeper than all of creation. Hashem created the stars and the world and the heavens and everything that we know that Hashem created and creates. That's true. But that's not the essence of Hashem. The essence of Hashem, he invested in our souls, which he gives each person a great gift. And he nurtures us and sustains us all the time. It's not a one-time process. And then he put it on autopilot, on automatic, go by itself. Doesn't work like that. Hashem is constantly creating us. So this is a very, very powerful concept and reality that we have to know how special we are to Hashem, because Hashem created us personally with so much love and so much energy, holy energy, that he invests in us, and he considers us part of him. And it's explained in Chassidus that our creation, the Jewish people, our souls are not like the rest of creation. The rest of creation, Hashem created, and so to speak, an outside creation. You can't say a table is godly. You can't say a building is godly. You could say that the building contains holiness in it. The table, if you use it for holy things, to put on svarim on it, for a Sefer Torah, for Shabbos and Yom Tov, so you're bringing kedusha, you're elevating the table. But you, God forbid, to say that the table now is holy. It has some holiness in it, but it's not an actual part of Hashem. It's a creation of Hashem. The neshama is not like that. The neshama is actually a part of Hashem. It's not a creation of Hashem. It's an extension of Hashem. Extension. It's a whole different, that's a different reality. That means really Hashem is in me. And as I'm speaking and saying this to you guys, I'm thinking deeply in myself that I am being inspired, knowing this Tanya, learning it for the last more than 40 years, since I'm learning Tanya every day. but it's so inspiring and uplifting. Just that right now, as I'm saying this, I'm becoming more intense and more thankful to Hashem that He created me as a Jew and He created me as a person that could understand the Tanya and to believe in it and to feel it. That's the main thing, to feel it, to feel what we're learning, that we should feel truly the reality of what we're learning in the Torah. It should become our reality and we should feel it and we should internalize it and process it every single day, every single hour, and every single minute. Then he continues in the Tanya, something that's an extension of what we just studied. We just studied that every Jew contains the neshama. Okay, so why are there so many differences amongst us? Why are we in different levels? We're all Hashem's children, and we all possess Hashem's neshama, and Hashem is one. So why are there differences? There shouldn't be such different levels between the Jewish people. The Gemara says, "Ein deisayim shavis." That no two people think alike or have the same opinion on everything all the time. There's differences. There's Bishama and there's Bishila. And many discussions in the Talmud. People, great rabbis, disagreed with each other. So how is that? And amongst the Jewish people, you have Rashechem Shiftechem, it says in the Pasha of Nitzavim, you have the leaders, and you have the elders, and the teachers, and the rabbis, and you also have the water carrier, and the wood choppers. So how could there be so many different levels? It's a very good question. So going back to the parable of the son, of the child, we are Hashem's child, right? That's what we said. It says that in the Torah. So in the development of a child, in the fetus, and then the child, when the child's born, the baby's born, there's many parts to the body. There's many organs. The head, the heart, the legs, the arms, the whole body. Every part is important. Every organ is vital. But they're not the same. You can't compare a heart to a head. It's different levels. But they work together. They operate together. There has to be a synergy. God forbid if there's a blockage in one place in the bloodstream, God forbid it can cause a big problem. So we all originate from Hashem. And the reason there are differences, Hashem made it that there should be differences, but we are all essentially one. We are all different parts of the same entity, of the same body. We're organs, so to speak, of the same body. We're all together puzzles of the same pieces of the same puzzle, different pieces, but it's just one puzzle. And that's why he says there are differences. Hashem has made variations, but he all wants us to get together and work together and operate together and respect each other, knowing that there are differences. And he goes a step further and he says that just like physically you have the head of the person, the brain, the head, that's the computer of the body, that part of us is what gives us the haraot, the hairos, the directives and the insight and what to do, make decisions. So similarly, he says, the Rosh Bnei Yisrael, the rabbis and the teachers of the Jewish people, we have to listen to them. If the fingers are not going to listen to the head, or the legs are not going to listen to the head, person cannot function. That's, God forbid, a sick person. There's an inconsistency. So we have to listen to our teachers. In fact, it's even deeper than that. Energy from them comes to every Jew, no question about it. But in order for you to feel that energy and to be conscious of it, you have to have a good relationship with the rabbis who are teaching the Torah, and they're like the head of the body. Every Jew davens straight to Hashem. Every Jew talks directly to Hashem. But in order for us to feel and be more enhanced to and intense the relationship with Hashem, you have to have the inspiration of the rabbis, because they are more humble and more righteous and higher level than most of us. They should be. And we have to learn from their lesson, from their inspiration. And also, they, according to what it says here in the Tanya, the energy of Hashem, somehow it goes through the Torah, and the Torah is connected with the rabbis who teach Torah. And that energy comes down to everyone through the good relationship and the respect and the admiration and love that we have towards the rabbis. So this is something we find in the Gemara. Again, everything the Alter Rebbe says in Tanya, he doesn't make up his own ideas. He made it clear in the beginning. It's a collection of teachings from the great rabbis and from the holy books that he collected, the teachings from the Maral Miprag, from the Shalach HaKadosh, from the Rambam, from Kisri Arizal, from the Zohar HaKadosh, from the Midrash, from the Gemara, and from the interpretations of his rabbis. But this is something you find in the Gemara. The Gemara says in Ksubos that it says in the Torah that you should be close to Ladavka, you should attach yourself to Hashem. So the Gemara asks, how could a person be close to the Shekhinah? Hashem is like fire. You could touch the Shekhinah. So the Gemara says, that if you get close to Talmid Chachamim, it's like you're getting close to the Shekhinah Mamash. Wow, that's a very powerful statement to say that. That I want to get close to Hashem on Sunday morning, hey Teves, and what are the rabbis telling me in the Gemara? What do I have to do? I should get close to the Talmid Chachamim. Rabbi Smith is one of my favorite rabbis here locally. So if I'm going to get close to the Menachem Smith, because I know that he is truly sincere, and I know that he runs away from Lashon Hara, he runs away from Rechilus, he doesn't have time, doesn't have any interest in doing the silly things that the Yetzer Hara wants to poison us. I'll be close to Rabbi Smith, and I will listen to him. It's just true. I can consider him one of my favorite rabbis, and so then it's going to bring me closer to the Shekhinah. That's what the Gemara says in Ksubos. This is not something that it says made up in the Tanya. Like the Rambam says, and the Rambam also brings it lahalacha. So the Alter Rebbe here in the Tanya explains it. Because, again, this is a statement in the Gemara. But what does it really mean? You can learn Gemara for 90 years. You don't understand the depth of it if you don't have the true understanding how it's explained in detail and know the deeper meaning, the mystical, also the esoteric, the pneumistic reason of it. So why does the Gemara say this? Now we're going to learn it. When we get close to the Talmid Chachamim, we learn from them, and we can stay close to them. So our nefesh and ruach and neshama from us gets close to the neshama of the rabbis, and they are close to Hashem through the Torah. So we're going to be elevated to Hashem more than reach on our own level, because maybe our level is not yet so perfected. It's not so pure. So I need to get close to Hashem. I need more purity. If I get close to the rabbis who are more pure, this will help me become more pure, and I become more pure. Now I'll get closer to Hashem. Now he brings in the brackets, what about the people who don't want to be nice to the rabbis? They fight with the rabbis. They make fun of them. They ignore them, or they disrespect them, or they just are indifferent. He says, it's not a good thing, my friends. They also get energy from Hashem, but they are getting the chitzonius. They're getting achurayim, he says. They're getting the back part. Like it says in the Birchas Kahanim, Yoir Hashem panov elecha v'chonek. Hashem will shine to you his countenance, his face. So Chassidus says panov also means pnimius, the inside of Hashem. So we are here talking about the inside, the pnimius, the deeper levels of Hashem comes through learning Torah and respecting rabbis who learn Torah and being close to them. Sorry, that was, calls come in the middle. So here we go. This is a very important lesson for us, because one of the differences between the reformer movement, conservative movement, and people who follow Torah strictly is also to accept and to recognize that the rabbis who teach Torah, they're not saints. We're all human beings. We all are regular people, but we have to live up to the what the Torah says. The Torah says it's a mitzvah to respect the rabbis and to support them and to love them and to spend time with them, because this brings us closer to Hashem. Now, we're almost by the end of the second chapter, and then we're going to make a summary. He says that the Alter Rebbe, the Baal Tanya, brings it with what it's written in the Zohar Chodesh, that when a husband and wife come together to try to have a child, so it's very important. This is written in many holy svarim, Reishis Chachma, many Musa svarim, even in the Shulchan Aruch it's written. There's a halacha in the big Shulchan Aruch from Rabbi Yosef Karo. He talks about this, that you should, the time of intimacy, the husband and wife, it's very important that they have holy thoughts, that they think about Hashem, they think about tzaddikim, and they think about bringing down a holy soul in their union, in their physical union. It shouldn't be an animalistic interaction, but they should think how we both, the husband and wife, we both want to bring down from Hashem, with Hashem's blessings, a holy soul, a boy or a girl, into this creation of a child. Because it says in the Gemara, there's three partners in the creation of a child: the father, the mother, and Hashem puts in the neshama. So it's very important that during the time when you're together, that they should have holy thoughts. So he asks, so this is what it says in the Zohar. So the Alter Rebbe, the Baal Tanya, is asking a question. We just finished saying that every neshama is on a different level. So What's the difference? What thoughts you're going to have? Hashem decides which neshama comes down from what level. So why does it depend on what the husband and wife are thinking during their intimacy? So he explains that there's another concept that's brought in Kabbalah that's called the levush. Levush means a garment. A garment means that just like physically, a person has a garment which enhances the person's his status, how he feels. He or she, especially women, they like nice clothing, makes them feel good. You also need garments for protection. If it's cold, even if it's hot, not to get sunburned, etc. But garments are very vital to our to not to the existence, but to how we operate, how we function in this world. That's how Hashem made it. That's why we find in Bereshis that before Hashem chased out Adam and Chava from Gan Eden, it says that Hashem made for them clothing. When the Gemara says that here we see Hashem's kindness. He could have just sent them out naked, let them fetch their own clothing. Hashem didn't do that. Hashem said, I want to, they should feel good, they should have their dignity, they shouldn't feel ashamed. Even though he chased them out of Gan Eden, he did it with kindness, with dignity, with sensitivity. So going back to what the Arizal says, that most people don't realize how powerful our thought process is. We don't pay attention. Like a lot of people say, I'm not doing anything wrong, I'm just thinking. They have these sexual thoughts. I'm not hurting anyone, I'm just having imaginations. Bad ideas, bad thoughts, not kosher, perverted thoughts. Am I bothering anyone? Am I hurting anyone? Yes, you are. You're hurting yourself. You're hurting your soul. The Gemara says, "Yehudid aveda, kosher aveda." A bad thought of a sin is worse than doing a sin, because it's like putting a needle into your, God forbid, into your brain. It's a fateful blow. We learned yesterday, or 2 days ago in the Rambam, yesterday, I think it was, that a person who has a thought in their mind that they want to make a pledge for a korban, he has to bring the korban. He only had a thought, but it wasn't a fleeting thought. He thought about it, but he didn't say anything. But he said to himself in his mind, this is what I'm going to do. Even though he didn't say it in his words, no one heard it. It's in his brain, in his mind. But he made up that he's going to bring a korban. Zok the Rambam, he's mechuyev, he's obligated to bring the korban. So you see in halacha, that a thought can obligate you, could compel you to do a mitzvah, and that envelops a lot of details. That it's not just bringing a korban. And the same thing if a kohen has a bad thought, a negative thought, while he's bringing a korban, he can disqualify the korban. It's called pigul. Anyway, going back to our discussion, if a person has a good thought during intimacy, it has to be the husband and wife, both of them. Then they bring down a holy levush, a holy garment for the soul. Now, why does a soul need garments? Well, that you have to ask the Arizal. I didn't make this up. I didn't, invent this concept. But we're just learning what it says here. That the Arizal, the great tzaddik, the Arizal says, and he understood the soul much better than all of us. He was able to speak to the soul and know how it operates because he was a soul Jew. He wasn't a guy like most of us that just, looking also to enjoy life. His enjoyment was godliness, holiness. So Hashem brought him up to that level. And he teaches us that you should know that there's a soul. And this soul needs to have a garment. Just like physically, a person feels good when they put on a nice jacket, a nice dress, makes them feel good, and it strengthens your positive feeling. Well, the neshama also needs holy garments. It's explained later in Tanya, in a few chapters later, that the soul needs food, so to speak, metaphorically, and also clothing. The Torah, it says in Tehillim, is like food. David HaMelech says, your Torah is in my stomach. When we learn Torah, it becomes the nutrition for the soul. And the mitzvahs become the garments for the soul. Just like a person goes to the store and pays nice money to buy himself a nice outfit. It's not just to show off. They feel good about it. That's the way Hashem made it. Makes you feel good when you're wearing a nice outfit, a nice dress. So the same thing in the higher level, of course, the neshama needs to be elevated through the mitzvahs. That's one type of garment. The second type of garment is which a person receives through the behavior and the conduct of his parents during intimacy. And I know that the question comes up, how can you change that or enhance that garment? Because you have no control what your parents thought during the intimacy when you were created, and you can, so by conception. So what should you do? So if my father or mother didn't have the right thought, so I'm to blame. So we'll get to that in a moment. But let's go back to what it says here in the Tanya, that Hashem says, the answer to the question. You're right. The neshama, it says, he says here that even a high-level neshama sometimes can come into a family of very simple people. That's Hashem's decision. That doesn't depend on us necessarily. But what type of levush, what type of garment, a spiritual garment you bring for the neshama, that does depend on the parents. Now, he says here that what is the function of this garment? That this is like a person who finds himself in a room with the smokers. So they say that that can also affect you, even though you're not a smoker. But the fact that you're around smokers could affect you. That's the negative side, right? Like we see today, people are so concerned about bacteria and about the pandemic. It's just by it's in the air. You don't know how it could affect you. So, but there is such a reality. Well, spiritually, it's even more potent that a person who has certain holy garments of the soul will be more protected than a person who doesn't have these garments. That's why there are people who have more sensitivity for Torah, for mitzvot, for kindness. And then you have people who are coarse. They're just coarse people, or they don't care, or they don't have faith, or they don't connect with Hashem properly. They're rebellious. Why? So it's explained because their garments of the soul are messed up. What could one do to receive new garments or better garments? That's a good question. That's not discussed here in the Tanya, but I will give you some information because I studied that in a mimer of the Alter Rebbe in a Sefer Chassidus, which I miraculously came across it. It was a very interesting eye opener for me, a revelation. I feel that I was given this opportunity to share it with people. Most people don't know what I'm going to tell you, and I also didn't know just till recently. So Alter Rebbe has a mimer. It's on the Sefer Nevi'im. He has a separate essays and the discourses, Hasidic discussions, and on the Nevi'im, on the book of prophets. So on one of the Maimarim there, he explains that what should a person do if they're messed up? They feel that they don't have the right contact with Hashem because their garments, their spiritual garments, are low level. So he says, you need to do two things. First of all, you have to know that Hashem is the one who controls the garments. And you need to turn to Hashem and speak to him about this problem. Just like you talk to Hashem about any problem. You got to really, in your tefillah, ask Hashem to lift you up and to give you a better, a head start, a push, a tune-up, an advancement, because you can't do this yourself. No matter what, you're not going to get new garments unless you ask for it and you beg for it and you're humble about it. In addition to this, he says, you have to do actual tzedakah and chesed. And not to forget that, and to keep it in mind that when you do the chesed, to ask Hashem in your tefillah, it goes together, tefillah and chesed. You say, Hashem, please, I'm trying my best to be a better Jew. I'm trying to do chesed with to help another person who's in need, another person who's sad or is missing something financially, and I want to be a righteous person, and I need from you, please, to have rachmanus on me, like I had rachmanus on someone else. And it says there, Hashem will give you new levushim, new garments. I spoke with Rabbi Yoel Khan, who's the Rebbe's main disciple, who used to review all the Rebbe's talks. The Rebbe would speak on Shabbos and Yom Tov and for hours, and he has a photographic memory. He would record everything after Shabbos. He would write it down, and I mean, the man is a super genius. I spoke to him about it, and he he didn't go into it. He just told me it's truly it's one of the most revolutionary things that Hasidus will give us the tools and the information how to fix something that's, you would think it's unfixable. It's irreparable. How can you repair something that's not in your control? It's so obscure. It's so high level. It's something that's so abstract. And people don't know about this mimer because it's in one of those books, Svarim, that most people don't learn. But again, I was blessed to come across it, and I want to share it with you. And I feel that Hashem gave me this opportunity to find this mimer and to share this knowledge and this information with all of you, because we all need to know about it, and we all also need to share with each other and to get the word out how powerful tzedakah and chesed is, what it accomplishes amongst hundreds of other things that the Chazal tell us, that it brings Mashiach closer and it brings blessings to all of us, and it can save a person from death, and it could cancel bad decrees from Hashem. Hundreds of things that you say about tzedakah, but this aspect, this angle, this point about levushim, chadoshim, to get a new levush, a new garment for the soul. This is something that only someone who knows the inner mechanics so to speak, of how the neshama operates, only they are privy could give us this information, because this is not something that we have any clue how to deal with it. Another aspect to it is also, if you give another Jew an opportunity to learn with them and share with them this knowledge, this information, and you're able to inspire them and influence them, then also Hashem will do midah keneged midah, measure for measure, and do accordingly what you are trying to influence others in the positive side. Hashem will also do for you. And once again, I want to thank Reb Nachum Smith for giving me the opportunity to being involved with the Rebbe's kollel that he established for his father's neshama, kollel Teves Levi Yitzchak. I never thought I'll be able to reach this level, this opportunity, but he and all of you are truly very kind. You're inviting me to be here. I hope I did a good job. I hope I inspired all of you. I don't know how I'm being received, how it's coming out to the audience, but I'm trying my best. And I want to wish everyone a Shavua Tov.
He did a great job, Rabbi.
It was really good. Very understandable. Thank you.
Thank you, Rabbi Dalfin. Thank you.
Rabbi Dalfin, maybe just for the last few minutes, I'm not sure if you wanted to get into this.
Thank you, Rabbi.
I know it's a little deep, but the Chochma, Hu Amadu Hu Yedeh Hu Yediyah, I don't know if you wanted to touch on that maybe, or the difference between
next time.
But but the other thing is the connection between the Reish B'nai Yisrael and the other and the rest of Klal Yisrael is similar to the Mayach, the head, and the Tziparnayim. I don't know if you wanted to develop that thought a little more clear, or you want to touch on it.
Yeah, okay. We have 2 minutes, 3 minutes to go. It says that the nails of a fetus are equally important in the development of the child. Hashem made it that the person should have fingers and toes, and then he has nails. So where does those nails come from? Well, those nails also are connected with the energy of the head. And in its origin, the whole process of the creation of the fetus. Well, the Alter Rebbe uses that as an analogy. He says even a Jew who feels that his neshama is low level, he feels like he's a nail, of the nail of the toe. He has no deeper feelings, or consciously doesn't feel that he's up to par, and he's not sophisticated. He doesn't understand much Torah. He feels like a very simple person. He says, don't worry about it. That's not your business. You are equally connected with Hashem, like in the process of the child, of the fetus. The nails of the toes are part of the person. And it is similarly in the spiritual sense, no Jew should feel left out or unimportant or neglected from Hashem, because we are all connected with Hashem. We're all part of the same body, the same entity. Of course, there are people who are on a higher level. They're trying harder to be closer to Hashem. They have a better relationship. They're more involved. But that doesn't mean that the person who's not doing mitzvahs or not learning Torah, he's not a Jew. He's nobody. He's a goy. He's not a goy. He's a Jew, but he's lost. He needs to be involved. We need to get him back. We need to invite him. We need to inspire him. But he's connected to the head, which is the head is Hashem, just like any other Jew, just like any other part of the body. And this is a great lesson, because we should never write off anyone. If we see someone is doing the wrong thing, it's a rachmanis on them. We have to pray for them, and we have to know that Hashem is crying for them, and they are part of the Jewish people.
Oh, yeah.
It's 11:01, Rebbe Menachem.
Which mimer of the in Nevi'im was that? Do you know?
Yeah, I think it's Tzion b'mishpat tibada.
Okay.
I'll make a copy of it.
No, I have it. I have it here. I thought it was Tzion b'mishpat. I have it. It looks like it's about Levushim here. Very nice.
So go towards the end.
Yeah.
And he says over there, you do tzedakah with an oni, with a poor man, and gashmias, not ruchnias, gashmias,
Right.
you will get new levushim. And he said, you cannot accomplish it through other means.
Right. Very nice. Beautiful. Shkoyach.
Zaygen benched. Everyone have a beautiful week. We'll see you Thursday, God willing.